Hello everybody and welcome to today's Wednesday webinar. I'm Paul Vanberg, the Head of Software Development here at VETtrak, and today we're going to be looking at VETtrak's Canvas LMS integration. I'll just collapse this. Okay. As normal, this webinar will be recorded and will be made available within the VETtrak Customer Centre. As well, there is in your GoToWebinar panel, there is a questions area where you can type your questions and they'll be addressed at the end of the webinar. Okay, let's get into it. So VETtrak have produced an integration with the Canvas LMS. This works by linking VETtrak occurrences to a Canvas LMS course section. Also, the second part of linking the Canvas modules in that course to VETtrak units and or tasks in the occurrence. Then by transferring the enrolments in the occurrence to the Canvas LMS course section. And lastly, then retrieving the status of the completed Canvas modules and updating the linked units and or tasks for those enrolments in the occurrence. So just as a note here, this integration does work specifically for occurrence enrolments in VETtrak, and you'll see why as we go through. This integration feature, is available by request for customers on VETtrak Enterprise and Enterprise Plus licenses. What that means is you need to send an email to support@vettrak.com.au requesting that feature be turned on in your VETtrak instance. We'll get you to update your registration key in VETtrak, and then all of the menus and wizards that you'll see today will be made available. Obviously, you also have to have a Canvas account and be a Canvas customer for this to all work. So that would be the first step before the getting the integration piece turned on in VETtrak. Okay, we're going to walk through basically how this is set up and how you do the integration with VETtrak. So first of all, as with most things, there's some configuration that needs to be done. So the settings for the Canvas LMS integration are in Manage, Configuration, LMS Integrations. This is where you add the details of the Canvas account and the mappings for the unit, results and task statuses. So let's have a look at that. And we have a VETtrak open here, and here we are. So if I go to the Configuration Manager, you can see here I've got one set up already, and we'll have a look at what I've created in this one. So right-click, Edit LMS Integration. If you want to create a new one, you can add an LMS integration. The reason why it's just LMS integration is because we are looking to expand this so that it's the same feature for other LMSs that may want to have this type of integration with us. So let's edit the one that I've created before. So you can see that I've given it a name. I'll just move that over the screen a bit. It's called Canvas Test. I can give it a code optionally. And then there are some options here. So one is that the LMS product, now currently there is only one of the Canvas products, so it's grayed out and selected for you. In future, there may be others in this list. The things to look at here is what do you want to make available for the transfer level? So you can have basically a mapping to either VETtrak units or VETtrak tasks or both. You can make that distinction here. And here I've said in this one, I'm going to basically link those VETtrak modules to both units and tasks, but you can select or deselect which one. Over on here as well, available for organisations. If you've got multi-RTO for VETtrak, then you can select which organisation you want this integration to work for. So you could have two integrations for Canvas for different RTOs with different settings, for example. If I go next, there are some details here. Now, the details are all about the Canvas LMS API details. In this integration piece, we use the Canvas API. So it doesn't use the VETtrak API, it uses wholly and solely the Canvas API. And there are some details here which you basically get from Canvas. So one is there's an address, there's a client ID and a client secret key. Now, if I'm in Canvas and if I bring this up here, they're done here through the developer keys. So there's an area here where you can get the ID and the key so that you can then populate that, and you can basically copy and paste those and put them into VETtrak. There are a couple of other options here as well. When you get that, you click on, there's a connect button when it says connect, and you can connect and it should all come up and say okay. It does bring up a little web browser within VETtrak that you have to confirm, and that goes through that process. But once you've got it set up once, then that's it. You don't touch it again. There are a couple of options here when transferring enrolments. One is to send an invite to the student. So in the invite, they get an email invite and they've got to click the link and then accept, and there's various processes that go there. And the second is to enroll immediately. Now, I've selected enroll immediately in this one just to, I suppose, show we're not going backwards and forwards between too many emails. So I've chosen enroll immediately, but you can make that choice yourself. There are a couple of options here. One is about limiting the student access to the enrolled course section. Now, as I said before, when we're transferring enrolments from VETtrak to Canvas, it is to a specific section, and this one of the options with Canvas is to limit those student access. And another one is about sending notifications of new enrolments. So that's all been set up here in this example. I'll go next and we'll see what else we need to set up. So if we've chosen that we want to map basically Canvas LMS modules to units, then we've got two options about what result do we want to record when a person is undertaking started the Canvas module, and what's the result we want to record when they've completed that module. So here in this case, I've set up a continuing result, which would be a relatively safe option here. As for when a student starts the module and we return the result. And if they complete the module within VETtrak and we're returning that status, then here I've said, okay, we're going to set a competent. Now you could create, obviously in VETtrak, other result types. You might want to have a result type meaning competent but pending or something like that, so that somebody needs to run an eye over it. That's completely up to you. You can set that in this configuration. Notice also here I've set default months in the future to set the unit end date when the unit is started, and here I've selected 1 month. You can make that whatever you like. The default's 3. Just for this example, I've just set it to 1. And you can also set the delivery strategy for WA as well. That's a WA specific field. All right, if I'm happy with all that, and obviously here you can turn these on and off, so you might not want to record a result when they start, you might want to only record the result when they finish. It's up to you. So we'll then go next at this screen. Because I've selected both units and tasks that I may want to map to, I can also record what the task start activity is status when I'm mapped a Canvas module to a VETtrak task. And here I've got one called in progress, meaning it's basically in progress, it's started. And there's another one here which I've said complete. So here you can set these up. Now remembering as well that with this, you may want to set up, for example, a Canvas module to start multiple units. Now that could be done through the tasks method and the task mappings. I'll talk about that a little bit later as we go through. I go next and I hit the end and I go finish, and it's all saved off. So that's your initial configuration setup within VETtrak. You won't see this unless you have this in your registration key. So you need to have requested that feature. So if you're looking for it now, you're probably not going to see it unless you've had the Canvas feature added. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. There is some configuration that needs to be done in the Canvas LMS. Obviously, you've got things like your courses and your sections and your modules and your assessment pieces that you're doing, but there is a specific item that needs to be recorded in Canvas to make this match up. So the course in Canvas LMS will need to have a section, and that's a Canvas specific thing, with the VETtrak occurrence ID set as the SIS ID. The Canvas LMS will also need modules that are going to map to VETtrak units and or tasks, and the required assessment for those to complete. So let's just have a look at how that's done. So in VETtrak, here I've got an occurrence, and I've set up a program called Canvas demonstration, and I've got an occurrence called the Canvas course 1, and here it has an occurrence ID of 121. All right, nice and simple. Every occurrence has an occurrence ID, and this one happens to be 121. If I jump into Canvas here, and if I go to courses, and if I look at the courses, and I've got this Canvas example course, and if I go in here, and if I go down to settings down the bottom, and I look at sections, you can see here I've got a section Canvas course 1 which has an SIS ID of 121. So if I click on that, you'll see here, and you can see here it's got 121, and if I go edit section, here's where you set the SIS ID. So there basically needs to be a match between the VETtrak occurrence ID and the Canvas section ID as such, so that when we're transferring and linking, and it knows where it's pulling and pushing information to and from in a very simplistic way. So I've done this in this example. I've already set up the 121. This is really quite important. Every Canvas course has at least one section. So by default, there's a section for each course. It's just the way that we use this to link up. Okay, let's jump back to VETtrak. Because I've got this occurrence and I've added the occurrence ID into the Canvas SIS ID, and because I've got the Canvas LMS feature, there are now a couple of things to do here. So one is about linking the occurrence to Canvas LMS. So let's just go back to the PowerPoint because that has a little bit more information. Okay, link occurrence to Canvas LMS. Once the occurrence ID has been set to the Canvas section SIS ID, the occurrence needs to be linked to the Canvas section. We right-click the enrolments node and select link occurrence to Canvas LMS. We select the Canvas LMS integration and click link occurrence to Canvas. VETtrak will then link the Canvas section with the corresponding occurrence ID and return the list of modules to be mapped. All sounds very fancy, doesn't it? Let's have a look. Right-click enrolments, and I've got in here link occurrence to Canvas LMS. Now this actually, because I'd linked this and delinked it, it's got a list of modules here that it's returned previously. Just ignore that. And by default, they won't be there because it hasn't returned them. It's got an occurrence ID here. You notice there is a copy button here that you can copy the occurrence ID and paste it into Canvas. What I'm going to do here is choose the LMS integration, which I've only got one, and I'm going to go link occurrence to Canvas. So that's doing a whole heap of stuff, and what it does is it updates, it's now updated this, so it's returned back the list of modules that are in that Canvas section. So here I can see I've got Canvas module 1, 2, 3, and I've got another module which I've called task 1. If I look back at Canvas, and if I go to modules in here, you'll see that I've got module 1, module 2, module 3, and I've got task 1. So it's returned back this list of modules for that course and that course section. So that's all great. It's done that, and now I can do some work in VETtrak. So the next bit here, I'll just go back to the PowerPoint. So that's great. We've done that, and we're now linking the the VETtrak occurrence to the Canvas course section. So each of the Canvas modules can be linked to units or tasks that are in that occurrence. If you require a Canvas module to link to multiple units, then you should use tasks. I alluded to this earlier. Now, because tasks have a matrix that you can set up, and that's been the way for a long time, where starting a task can start multiple units, and completing a task can complete multiple units. So if you needed that functionality of saying when you start a Canvas module that it needs to start multiple units, you would in VETtrak map it to a task and then use that task unit mapping matrix that's in VETtrak to do so. So let's just have a look in VETtrak then. So here I've got module 1, and you'll notice what it's done is it's made a pretty good stab at how we're going to link this. So I haven't actually chosen these. It's looked within the occurrence to see what are the units or modules that are available, and I happen to have 3 here, module 1, module 2, module 3, and it's matched it on the name. So if you've got very similar names between your Canvas modules and your VETtrak units or modules, then it can do this kind of make a best guess at it. And it's also made a best guess at the task, which I'm going to link to task. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, okay, I'm happy with this, but I could select different ones here. I don't have to link a Canvas module to anything either. It could not be linked to a task or not to a unit. It's completely up to you how you want to do this mapping. It is on a per occurrence basis though, so remembering that you can have different mappings for different occurrences. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to go finish. Now you can see here that now it doesn't really show anywhere, but this is now linked, this VETtrak occurrence, to the Canvas course section. If I right click now, I get some extra menu items, and the menu items are about transferring the enrolments to Canvas LMS and transferring the results to Canvas LMS. I happen to have, here's what I prepared earlier, a student who's been enrolled in this VETtrak occurrence. And what we're going to do is transfer this student, and you might have multiple students, of course. I'm keeping a fairly simplistic view of this, to your Canvas section. Let's have a look back at the PowerPoint. Okay, so the next step, transferring enrolments to the Canvas LMS. The next step is to transfer the enrolments in the occurrence to the Canvas LMS. This will enroll the students in the linked section of the Canvas course. Once the occurrence is linked, a new right-click menu on the enrolments node is now available of transfer enrolments to Canvas LMS. You select the students to transfer and click Next and Finish. All sounds really simple, doesn't it? Right-click enrolments, transfer enrolments to Canvas LMS. Here we are. Here's student, and I'm going to choose that student. And of course, you can select and deselect. There is a bit of info in here about the student, and you might find that these might be, you might need to do some work here. So obviously, this client will be created in Canvas with the username demo@vettrak.com.au, which we've set up before, and it's saying, okay, we're ready to transfer this student. So I'm going to go next, and I'm going to go finish. It's now transferring the enrolments to the LMS, and it's done. Beautiful. I love it when things work. So student here, we can see there's a note at the end here, at the end of their name, LMS Canvas test. So they've now been transferred to the Canvas test. Nicely, I've got an email which has come into my box, which is good. So if I go back to Canvas, and if I look at people, it will tell me that student, amazingly, with a login ID of demo@vettrak.com.au has now been enrolled into this course. Now, I set this up so that it automatically enrolled this student. You can do the invite where it does send an invitation to the student, and the student's got to click to accept the invitation, and there's other steps to go through. It all depends how you want to set up your Canvas. You'll notice here that I've also been added here as the teacher. This is obviously something that you set up in Canvas as well. Now, for the student then I'm going to have to do a little bit of Canvas work here. This student has to basically have a password to log in, so into Canvas. And what I'll notice here, if I go to my email, is that I've got some emails here. So I've got one here which is saying Canvas registration complete. And if I open it up and it says click here to access the account, now what I'm going to do here is copy the hyperlink and I'm going to open it in another browser so that I'm not doing the same thing in multiple browsers, well, in the same browser, and confuse myself and confuse Firefox. Okay, so for demo@VETtrak, it's asked me to put in a new password. So I'll just type in, actually, that wasn't a very good password because I would have forgotten it as soon as I, excuse me while I type. I have two fingers that I type with. Update password. Nope. Okay, so it's now logged me into Canvas as a student. So here I'm using Chrome and I'm logged in as a student. When I was in Firefox, I was logged in as a trainer. So this person's now been enrolled into a course. So I can see here Canvas example course was the course that this person was put into. And they've got now things that they need to do. So now I need to go to where this is where, modules. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Modules. So I'm pretending now that I'm a student and I'm going to do some stuff. So module 1, I've got an assignment here. And you'll notice that it's a 50 points assignment. This is the way that you can set these things up. And to pass this, you've got to score at least 40. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go in here into the assignment. And this is an assignment, whatever that is. And I've got to go to, do something.
Looks like you're still logging as yourself.
Ooh. I've got James here helping me. So that's a bit interesting because it does seem that I am logged in as the trainer.
You're in Chrome there, are you?
Yep.
So were you in Firefox?
Yep.
So what's in?
Okay. Yeah. Now, okay. Something slightly awry has gone here, and I reckon it's me. All right. Let's try logging out. Account. Let's try. Yeah, I'm logged in as a trainer. Whoops. So let's try this. Oh, okay. It remembered me. Yeah. Okay. This happens sometimes. Demo. And my apologies for that because I think I'd previously logged in. Submit. Oh, no, yeah, okay, right. Okay, right, now that's better. I'm in as a student this time. Right, and this is the only, I thought it was a bit strange because I actually could see the other courses. Okay, that was my fault. Okay, Canvas example course. Here we are, and if I go to now modules, and if I go to assignment 1, this looks much better. And then I've got to do stuff. So I think I've got to go submit assignment, and then I'm just going to put in a whole heap of text, and I'm going to go submit. So obviously Canvas has multiple ways and multiple assessments that you can set up, but I've now successfully submitted this assignment. If I go back over into Firefox, now I can do the marking. So if I go to marks, I'm pretty sure. Okay, right. Okay, I must have logged. Okay, even multiple browsers isn't liking me. Okay, so I've got this text entry. You see, student submitted. So if I click on this, oh, actually, I've got to click on that. And I'm going to give it a mark. So I'm going to give it a mark that's not a pass mark. I'm going to give it a mark of, say, 30. Okay, so if I go update mark, 30 out of 50. So 60%, it's not a pass mark, but it's indicating that the student has started this module. Let's go to the next PowerPoint slide, which is about returning the result. So let's look at that. There, that one. Transferring results from Canvas LMS. Now, there are two ways of doing this, and I'm going to look at both of them. And the first way is the per occurrence method. So when a student has started an assessment task in Canvas, the status of that started assessment can be retrieved by VETtrak. Results can be retrieved on a per occurrence basis by right-clicking on the enrolments node and selecting transfer results from Canvas LMS. If the assessment has a started status in Canvas on transfer to VETtrak, the user will need to populate the start date, as this currently can't be retrieved from Canvas. There are several options to use though. The transferred results can then be adjusted at this point before saving them. So let's go back to VETtrak. So now when I right-click enrolments, I'm going to use this option here, which is transfer results from Canvas LMS. And it's picked up here, and all I've got to do is click the download button, and it has found now that student has started in the LMS a module because they hadn't passed it, they didn't have the mark to pass it. VETtrak has said, okay, this is mapped to module 1 because I'd said previously this was mapped to module 1. The result status that we previously said was going to map to is continuing, but I can choose other result types if I want at this point. And you'll notice that at the moment the start and the finish are not populated. Now, if I look at under here, set missing start date. So I've got a couple of different options that I could use. There is a Canvas module unlock date that can be used. You could also use the training plan unit start date if you've set up a training plan for this student, for that module. The enrolment start date or today. So let's just look at the different options here. If I go training plan unit start date, it's picked the 1st of the 7th, 17, and the potential finish of the 10th of the 8th because I'd set that up in the training plan for this student. If I choose the enrolment start date, for example, oh no, it won't change because it's got that. Yeah, if I cleared it, it would come up. So I could actually do that. I could set those. And if I choose enrolment start date, it's going to then pick the dates for the enrolment, and you'll notice the dates are slightly different. And otherwise, I could pick today if I want to pick today. So whichever method that you want to use, you can set the missing start dates for that modules. Okay, I've got a green light. It's okay, ready to process. So I'm going to go process all. Yep, and it's done. So let's look at VETtrak then for that module. What we should see is under module 1 is that student now has a continuing result with an end date. So that's worked beautifully. So that's all being done just through basically retrieving the result there and going and processing it. So that's the method of doing that. Let's just jump back into into here, and what we're going to do is we're going to update this. So say that the student resubmitted or whatever that might do, and I'm going to change the mark now to be 45 because they've now done some extra work and it's all good to go. So they've now got a new mark of 45, which basically means now that this module is completed because the assignment has been done. So I'll jump back into the PowerPoint here, there, and let's have a look at this. So transferring results from Canvas LMS in bulk. So there's a second method to do this. Now, results can be retrieved on a per occurrence basis. No, actually, that's wrong. That's not per occurrence. That should be in bulk. The previous method was per occurrence. It's going to retrieve all of the results from Canvas across all course sections for processing. Now, be aware that this option can take some time to run because it's looking across all of your Canvas sections and going to return. So let's have a look in VETtrak where that is. So under utility, there's transfer results from Canvas LMS. So here I pick the Canvas LMS integration, and all I do is click download, and what it should do, and notice that in this one there is a stop download button if it is taking considerable amount of time and you're late for lunch or whatever it might be. Student now, module 1 has returned a completed result. Yay, I've finished, and because I got 45 out of 50. And it's telling me I'm going to map this now to a competent result, and you'll notice that the finish date now has been set to today because I finished the assignment today and the module is now completed. So again, this is all great. You can do this. You can also add in things like comments and that type of stuff in here as well. If I go process all in, yep. If I then look back at VETtrak and if I collapse that and expand it again, yay, I'm now competent in that module. So I could have done this for other modules. I could have done this for tasks if I'd mapped it to tasks so that then that could be auto-populated. Basically, it's a method where you're, in respect, pushing the enrolment into a Canvas course section, and then as the student does their work, you're retrieving back the results. As far as LMS integrations go, that's the key functionality that we're looking for. All right, that was pretty successful for me for a webinar. So let's have a look at the questions to see if we've got any questions that are coming up. Okay, all right, there might have been a couple of sound problems at the start. That's often normal. Can you map outcomes in Canvas to VETtrak or just tasks? So you can map basically in VETtrak only wants to know whether a unit has started and basically, or it's completed. They're the two things that it requires. In Canvas, there are statuses for these things. So status of when it started and status for when it's completed. The actual grade or the outcome, because Canvas has multiple different outcomes that you can set, there are far too many for us to map in. So basically, we just want to know in VETtrak, has it started or is it complete? They're the two things that really we need to know, and so we weren't able to really map as far as specific Canvas outcomes. Can the Canvas LMS modules be linked to linked units within a child occurrence? That's a good question. I would, yes, I'd like to say yes. So if in the occurrence the unit or module is available, yes, I'll say yes. We might want to do a bit more rigorous testing.
So if the unit is in another enrolment that you've linked, then it will update the unit in that linked enrolment.
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be enrolled in that particular occurrence, as long as it's if it's linked, it'll do it in the say the main enrolment. If they had
a non-contract enrolment and you were putting them in an occurrence also, and you just wanted it within that occurrence to have certain modules or units that were being done through the LMS, then that's fine. Can linked staff be transferred to Canvas as a teacher role? No, no ability for that. The functionality is what you've just seen here. Does the student's enrollment status affect their access to the Canvas course? such as withdrawn, active, etc. So no, once you've transferred the enrolment into Canvas, the two are quite kind of independent. So if you go and mark the student's status in VETtrak as being withdrawn or cancelled, or you need to basically remove them from the LMS. Now, there is a method of doing that. I'll just dock this and show you. So there is a method whereby you can right-click and you can go remove enrolment from LMS. So if you do that, because the students, you've marked the student as withdrawn or cancelled, you can remove them from the LMS using this method. Then they obviously won't have access to the course and they can't complete anymore. That would be the method to use in this case. Let's see. Can this process be completed automatically as opposed to manually having to map the outcomes after completion? So no, you've got to, there is, the main reason here for this is that VETtrak is very much, the processes are very much user driven. You have to click stuff for stuff to happen. VETtrak is not always open. It's, you know, it's not a web application. It's not always there. You do need to do this interaction with VETtrak of clicking buttons to retrieve and to push the enrolments to make it all happen. So it doesn't happen automatically.
Yeah, with mapping of, when you say outcomes, mapping of, say, started and completed module statuses in Canvas to, you know, unit result types or task statuses, that is set up once. So that mapping is set up once and it will use that. You have the option to override some of it if you want to when you download stuff, but you don't have to. You can leave it with your default mappings there. So it's not like you have to, you know, change all the results individually as they come in.
Yeah. We also have a question about these outcomes are not results, you know, as they are, as something jumped there, are not results, they are criteria within assessments that may or may not be required to achieve every assessment. So if a person starts an assessment within Canvas and you're retrieving back and it's for a module, we're concerned in VETtrak of what the module's status is. VETtrak itself is not concerned about what the results of the assessments are. So we don't return back the results of the assessments. All we're returning back is the status of the modules. So if you're indicating that a module gets started because a person does a certain assessment, then we return back that it started. If they complete all the requirements of the module and it now has a status of completed, we return the status of the module as completed. It doesn't return the individual assessment result. So just make that clear, is that that's the component of the LMS, not of VETtrak. If local staff update student details such as email in VETtrak, is that published to Canvas? Is VETtrak the source of truth for student details? No, we don't do that. So and you'll notice that if the password, for example, for student in VETtrak wasn't the password for Canvas. So the student had to set their own password. It used the student's email as their login, and it's not the user name that in VETtrak either. So it uses the student's email and the student creates their password. So within VETtrak, there is no record of what the student's password is for Canvas. We would know generally what their username is because their email is there. But if somebody updates their email in VETtrak, that's not going to update their account email in Canvas. Is it possible to link multiple tasks in different modules on Canvas for one unit to be marked as competent in VETtrak? Now, that's really a Canvas question about how you set up Canvas and your modules as such. Remembering in VETtrak, we're looking at a list of modules and retrieving a list of modules. and you can map them to VETtrak units and modules or VETtrak tasks. The other way, look, that's not really a question that I can answer, I don't think. Okay, we seem to have got to the end of the questions. Do we have any more questions before we finish up for today? Going, I can hear people busily typing or not. No, I think we've done. Okay, I know as soon as I say that, somebody will post a question. Okay, so thank you everybody for your presence today and attending this webinar. There won't be a webinar next week, but there will most likely be a webinar the week after. This webinar, as I said, will be made available, the recording of it be made available in the Customer Centre for VETtrak. Okay, thanks everybody for attending today, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.